to be a great discussion. This is the biggest topic with respect to institutional adoption. So here we go, the closes of the day, and probably one of the most important topics. So thanks, guys.
Hey. Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us. I'm Joe, one of the co-founders of Aztec. I think we're just going to do a back and forth chat about the problems of privacy. And there are a few. So do you want to kick us off?
All right. So I'm working on a privacy wallet. We decided a few months ago with Vitalik to launch this wallet project. We realized that wallets are the main tool for people to interact with the blockchain, and they lack privacy features. So you have a lot of important information when you interact with the blockchain that you leak through regular wallets. You leak your IP, you leak your positions, you leak your holdings, and you leak your intents, you leak your strategy. So it is very nice for transparency and auditability to be able to check everything, but it's also a big problem for institutions. For example, no asset managers want to reveal their strategy. It would basically be like giving your edge on the market. And so we decided to tackle this problem, and we faced a lot of challenges doing this. And actually, Aztec has faced the same challenges because they're building this natively. So yeah, glad to have you here to discuss that today.
Yeah, maybe I can talk a little bit about our history, because we didn't set out to build a privacy network. We set out 7 and a bit years ago to put real-world assets on chain. We were trying to put corporate debt, big term loan A's, term loan B's on Ethereum. And we realized that, this is just not going to happen without strong privacy guarantees. Yeah, as Nico was saying, if you're a bank and you can see my portfolio, you see how much of an asset I'm going to sell when I start selling, it just doesn't work. And so we started building kind of privacy tools back in 2018, early kind of ZK Snark technologies, and we started experimenting with that. And over the way, we've built some kind of innovations. A lot of the kind of cryptography that is now used for ZK technology, Zach, my co-founder, built and invented. So there's a lot of challenges with privacy. I think the main one is that the state model is different. So maybe we could talk about UTXOs, and I don't know how you guys are solving that in the wallet, but yeah, what's the state model for you guys?
So we have to use the account model because it's going to be on Ethereum, but we will do it in a UTXO way. So basically, one account per dApp, one account per interaction. So this means every time you will connect to a dApp, you will use a new Ethereum address. So basically, we're going backward, back to Bitcoin in the UTXO system, because it's simply better for privacy. You don't want it's really hard to imagine an account model that is fully private, because you link your past actions. So you link metadata, and you can do some correlation analysis if you do this. So yeah, we went back to the UTXO model. And one of the challenge that we faced was when you run a transaction on Ethereum, you want to know what's going to happen. You want to fetch some account balances. You want to see what's happening on the chain. And currently, when you do that on Ethereum, you do RPC calls. And there is this very nice RPC provider somewhere on Earth that gets this information about what you're going to do, what you want to check, what you're reading on the chain. And so we faced this challenge, and we were like, okay, how are we going to do this in a private way? And we ended up deciding that we need a small execution client within the wallet that's going to do it internally and have some private interactions with some servers. And this is very similar to actually the private execution environment model that you have on Aztec. So yeah, I realized checking Aztec docs earlier today to prepare this, that we have a lot in common on that front.
Yeah, so we kind of discovered this. We used to have a product called Aztec Connect. It was like a payments roll-up that also let you interact with DeFi on Ethereum. And I guess the problem that we're talking about here is if you can ask an RPC node, what's my balance, then the entire world can see your balance. And so like there's a fundamental like problem with public blockchains, which is like if everyone can see everything, then they can see it. When you try and hide that, you end up with like almost a harder problem, which is you now need to query all the state on the blockchain to figure out which state's yours. So in order to not leak any information, you have to test every piece of state and say, is this mine? Is this mine? And that doesn't really scale. And so you end up having to build what we think is like, we call it the private execution client. It's like a light client that sits on your device, and it knows how to ask for the right pieces of state to make this actually run on your phone and be feasible. So it's taken a few years to kind of get the mental models right, but it's validating to hear you come to the same conclusions, I think.
Yeah, I wish you had the EVM so I could just copy-paste your work and save a lot of time.
You can use Nora. It's open source.
It is. So yeah, one big topic these days is like the institutions coming, and talking with Ash yesterday, I realized like privacy is the link between the two edges of our community. You have like the cypherpunk in one extreme side of the community that have like very strong privacy needs, and you have these institutions that are on the extreme other side of the community that have the same needs. So really interesting to be in that moment where we have privacy taking the main stage. And yeah, I really hope that Aztec can be that layer 2 that will be like fully private and enable fast, cheap interactions fully privately. So question for you, what are the next ZK Money type of experiment? Are you going to do this again? When am I going to be able to do DGen DeFi position without my friends knowing that I got liquidated?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we've been kind of building this for many years now. We have a fully decentralized testnet, and mainnet's coming very soon. That network will launch with kind of inbuilt bridging functionality. So you can, as a user, take a transaction on Aztec and bridge it to any kind of EVM chain, all L2s or mainnet. And so we kind of think of it as a bit like a privacy layer for Ethereum. You obviously have to get an Aztec account to use it, but we're working on ways to kind of make that easier, maybe connect your Ethereum like L1 wallet. But I think we need some standards here to help. At the moment, we have like the ERC20 standard, but there's no like private token standard on Ethereum. In fact, I think one of the early EIPs was written by Zach, and it says confidential token standard, and it was written in 2018. So maybe we can revive that, and then we can actually get some real privacy on Ethereum. But yeah, early next year, you'll be able to kind of recreate Aztec Connect again and make kind of like a cross-chain bridge to all chains. Maybe the next thing we could chat about, we've got like 5 minutes left, is like privacy sets and how you think about what is the privacy set for an asset? Like if you're an institution, right, and you want to do a trade that's $50 million, $100 million, how do you hide that in a public ledger? Have you guys started to think about the privacy set for the wallet?
Yeah, so we started to look into like existing privacy protocols on Ethereum, and we are still facing this problem that like you can't hide on Ethereum, like the state is public and the balances are public. So in a smart contract that is like a privacy protocol, you have a certain amount in this contract, and currently it's not big enough to like take what you just said. Like if I come into privacy pools with like $100 million, I'm probably going to be bigger than the entire pool. So like it's really hard to hide my intentions. Like if I withdraw from the pool, then you will know, yeah, it was me doing all those interactions. So I would say Ethereum mainnet, the current state of privacy protocols on mainnet is good, but it's not big enough to hold those big orders. And the only way it can work is to make it grow. So like you all should use those privacy protocols, because by doing this you enable bigger fish to enter the contract and to enter the pool. And we are facing this because we're a public blockchain, but so we have to use those external protocols to make this work. Whereas like in Aztec, you will probably not have this.
Yeah, I guess Zuko from Zcash has like a famous saying, and he's like, you can't give privacy to like an asset that's in flight. So you can't take something that's public and then decide to make it private. You have to either add a time delay, which is how a lot of the pools work on Ethereum, or you have to kind of, pool it with other assets. But you can't just take a transfer and suddenly decide to make it private if it started as a public transaction. So we realized this after speaking with Zuko, I think in 2023, 2022, we realized that like the only way to get like an infinite privacy set is to start with everything private by default and then let developers kind of conditionally reveal what they want to. It does mean that you have to kind of add things onto the EVM, and so we have a different execution environment, a different model. But in that world, the way you can get like a very big privacy set is you can natively mint something privately. So let's say you have a stable coin. Instead of minting it on L1, where you can see how much is minted and withdrawn, if you mint it privately, where you can't see the total supply, but you have a proof that the supply is backed, you can now start to do these trades that institutions want to do where they're not constrained to one privacy set. So that's one of the reasons we kind of think it needs to be natively private, but we have to balance that with kind of also, going where the capital is. And so that's why we're on Ethereum, because it's an L2. So.
And funnily, like this links to monetary policy in the traditional world. And in a sense, they managed to achieve this because they're not able to measure the total amount of supply. So it's a very different thing, but because they're incompetent, let's say, they managed to achieve this privacy by not knowing the current supply of money in circulation. So yeah, it's really interesting because like you did real math and real hard work to manage to get this result that they just managed to got by being incompetent and having a weak system. So yeah, thank you for doing it better and doing it well. Really good, really good to have this. And this is beautiful because like this layer 2 is going to enable to have this private, natively private set of action. And this is the beauty of like the layer 2 roadmap. Like we don't have to make Ethereum fully private, and we don't have to go do all of this, and we can stay a public blockchain and have this built on top. So really good to have Aztec. Very excited to see what's going on, how it's going to unfold. A lot of layer 2s have launched over the last few years with very similar go-to-market to just be cheap, scale. Maybe I'm going to say something a little negative about this. When you have 500 projects doing the exact same thing, it is hard for people to navigate. It is hard for the projects to be successful. And because you have this clear go-to-market and clear strategy, clear differentiation, and an amazing technology behind, I really think you will be one of the most successful L2, and really looking forward to that launch.
Thank you. I don't know what to say after that. No, I think that the way we think about it internally is that most L2s they're competing on TVL, right? So you have Uniswap on every chain, you have Aave on every chain, and there's only so much liquidity. For Aztec, we don't really care about TVL because we have block space that's unique. So we can bring the privacy to other chains and hopefully augment them. So I think most L2s are kind of, they're competing with each other and they're all competing for the same slice of the same pie. I think hopefully we're one of the first L2s that can be net positive for another L2 and actually, or Ethereum. So that's the hope. And I think with cool privacy wallets on L1, we can also start to make Ethereum a bit more private than it is today.
Absolutely. As soon as you will launch, and the timing is good for us because for now we will be just mainnet. We plan to have a demo by DevConnect, and after that we will start to add layer 2s. So this will be the right timing, and obviously we'll try to add Aztec as soon as possible because this just makes sense for a privacy wallet on mainnet. So thank you so much for doing all of this, and thank you for having us and organizing this beautiful event. It was a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for being here today, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.